Hello, good evening. Welcome to Prime Business with me, Pius Kojobaka. Straight to our very first story. The Ghana Hotels Association is warning of a collapse of the hotel and hospitality industry if government goes ahead to make upward review in utility tariffs. According to the association, if any adjustments are made, that will spell doom for them and the tourism industry as a whole. Dr. Edward Akanyamike Jr. is the president of the Ghana Hotels Association.
Every day, it seems that suddenly we are being bombarded with operational cost challenges from every angle. You know, suddenly there seems to be that pressure on the industry from all angles. And we just pray that as these bombardments are coming, there will also be some ways that we will also enjoy some relief. But so far, we have not received any hint of any release from any direction at all. Okay, recently, I'm sure you heard about our issue with the PURC, which fortunately they met us and they have accepted that it was a challenge from there and they are trying to resolve. Okay, so I think that in line with the minister's ambition to push tourism and hospitality as a major contributor to our GDP, we need to be very careful in terms of how we are allowing the current business environment to affect the industry. Otherwise, one day we'll wake up and we may have a collapsed hospitality and tourism industry. And that will be a big challenge to the Ghanaian economy.
Now, the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, warns government to speed up the sustainable development of its petroleum resources to reverse the decline in crude oil production. PIAC says the government must do more to attract new investors as well as ensure early completion of ongoing projects. Crude oil production in Ghana has declined for 3 consecutive years by 10%. Here is the chairman of the committee, Professor Kwame Adom Frimpong, speaking at the launch of the 2022 PIAC annual report.
Mentioned that sustainable development because from 2017 coming, you could see there's a decline in the production of our petroleum, petrol. As far as the quantities are concerned, the barrels are coming down, and from 2017, 2018, 2019 up to 2022. I made a joke that if more or less divide, from 5 years coming down, what action are we taking? So we are just drawing the government attention to take action how best they can improve the decline stage or level so that if more investors come in, the more investors come in, the more we can produce. So that's one option. So the other option is to make sure that the little money or revenue we generate from the decline, the production, we should be able to put in the good use so that the Ghanaians will benefit from it.
Now, the World Bank is expected to advance almost $1 billion to Ghana if the country secures an IMF program. Now, this is separate from the $3 billion that is expected to support Ghana's balance of payment from the IMF under a fund program. Well, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta disclosed this to my colleague George Yafe on PM Express Business Edition in Washington, D.C. during the IMF World Bank Spring meetings.
As you know, when we were here, we had a meeting with U.S. companies to look at how we can facilitate their coming in. So working with Citibank and IFC, etc., to look at a whole investment drive, and with GIPC, now make sure that the issue of job creation and catalyzing growth in the economy continues.
You spoke about the World Bank coming on board with some 250 million commitment to the Stability Fund as well. Are we looking for a African Development Bank coming on board? And also, what will be government's commitment as well to this whole fund in trying to help deal with the challenges in the sector?
I mean, after the exchange, the debt exchange program, you certainly put stress on the banking system, and that's why we are creating this financial stability fund, so that we can tackle the solvency and liquidity needs that these financial institutions may need. And this is where the World Bank is looking to support it with $250 million. We hope, between June and September, we should be able to get that. Government will look to put some money into that. Africa Development Bank is working on a program for that, and some of our development partners are also examining that. But for sure, the World Bank has gone a long way in its processing of that, and government will also put some resources into that. So that should be operational, maybe after June, July.
So from after June, July, then institutions that have challenges can apply and come and support as well.
Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta in that interaction with my colleague George Yafe there. Now, Chief Executive of the Development Bank Ghana, Kwame Naduka, has justified why his outfit would not lend to small-scale businesses, but rather to large-scale ones. According to him, the risks involved in supporting small-scale businesses are much bigger compared to large-scale businesses. Now, the bank says it will this year accelerate lending activities with at least 600 million cedis in loans to its participating financial institutions for on-lending to SMEs. Mr. Duka has been speaking to Joy Business.
It is much easier and more effective to lend to a larger scale or build a larger scale operation, because lending to the very small artisanal operators is difficult. There's a huge overhead in terms of cost, and not everybody wants to build scale. Some people just want to do enough as a hobby. And so making that distinction becomes difficult. But when you support the larger farmers, the larger scale manufacturers, the trickle impact is immense. And you see that when they clear the land for the smaller guys. When they bring in seed also to support some of the smaller guys, some of the agros. So you get the smaller players being supported by the bigger players. But what we have to do is to encourage that, to make our lending part of that discussion, so that when we give our money to some of the bigger players, they are incentivized to support the community. And we think that's a far more effective way, a far more sustainable way of making sure that we build communities that will grow and be sustainable.
More on banking, and EcoBank Ghana, as part of its corporate social responsibility, has begun processes to light up parts of Nima and Tamale ahead of the Eid al-Fitr celebration. According to the Executive Director of EcoBank Ghana, Edward Nete Bochi, the gesture is a way of appreciating the support of customers over the years.
Bank Ghana, in line with the Eid al-Fitr celebration, is lighting up part of Accra and Tamale. Speaking in an interview, Executive Director of EcoBank Ghana, Dr. Edward Nateboche, said it is important to celebrate with loyal customers of the Muslim community.
This is a project sponsored by EcoBank. You would recall that somewhere in December every year we organize Light Up Accra. Now, during the month of Ramadan, the plan also for us is that for our Muslim communities also, we do have a lot of customers within the Muslim community, and we only felt that it was just right during this time, in line with the Muslim tradition that you find in several other countries, to be able to do the same for our customers also. It's just a way of we being able to appreciate our customers during this time, and to be able to give back to them for all of the support and all of the things that they have done also for us. It's important that when our Muslim customers are going through this time, in a way that we can support, in a way that we can appreciate them, in a way that we can thank them for their custom. For us, it is quite important.
He added that the company will continue to do this gesture in the following years.
This would not be a one-off event. I think if you know anything about EcoBank, I think one of the things that we are known for is that sense of consistency. And indeed, this is not just happening here in Accra. We are doing same also in Tamale. So it is not a one-off event. It is something that we do look forward to continually year in and year out.
Moving on to some other business stories, Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area, Wamkele Mene, says it will take time for Africa as a continent to adopt a single currency regime. The diplomat overseeing the world's largest free trade area says the disparities in the economic conditions in many countries across the continent are posing a significant challenge to the vision of the African Union to grow into a full economic union. Now, the cost of currency convertibility is estimated at $5 million a year, with experts calling for an intra-African solution to plug the flight of capital out of the region. Now, in an exclusive interview with Blessed Sogan at the After Business Forum in Cape Town, South Africa, Wamkele Mene indicated that the newly introduced Pan-African payments and settlement system will be a stopgap measure.
42 currencies on our continent. The cost of currency convertibility is $5 billion a year. We have to do something about that. That's why we, working with Afreximbank, we have established the Pan-African Payments and Settlement System, so that if you are in Accra, your counterparty is in Nairobi, you don't have to buy the dollar or any other third currency to transact with your counterparty or to pay for the goods that you are exporting, that you are importing. So payments has proven to be a significant constraint to boosting intra-Africa trade because of the cost. That is why the Pan-African Payments and Settlement System is an interim solution. I'm saying interim in the absence of a common currency, which one day I know the African continent will have. You are now going to be able, through the Pan-African Payments and Settlement System, you are now going to be able to trade with your local, your counterparty using local currency. You are on the digital platform. You transact in Ghanaian cedi. Your counterparty in Kenya receives the cedi, the transaction amount in Kenyan shillings. So we are eliminating the need for a correspondent bank in another part of the world to be the middleman.
But don't you concede that if we had a single currency, that would have addressed the challenge? You were speaking about that on Sunday, pointing out some of the challenges and how difficult it will be at this time to implement a single currency regime. What's that big hindrance in the way of many of the member states participating in this free trade area?
There is already a decision. Going as far back as the establishment of the Organization of African Unity, there's a very clear decision that Africa must have a common currency. However, getting there is difficult because you have to have macroeconomic convergence. We know from the experience of Europe, Greece, Portugal, when they were experiencing sovereign debt crisis, when they were not able to exercise monetary policy because it is centralized. So you have to get to that point where everybody, all countries in Africa, are on the same macroeconomic policy stance, convergence criteria on, for example, on GDP to debt ratio, on government deficit to GDP ratio. Those things have to be completely aligned. And if they are not, it's impossible to have a common currency. So that's the work that has to be done.
Wamkele Mene in that interaction with my colleague Blessed Sogan in South Africa. Now, the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana, CIMG, has appealed to government to make the conscious effort of branding and marketing the newly created 6 regions to boost tourism. This came to light at the launch of the CIMG Regional Brand Index report, which saw the Ashanti region identified as the most branded region, while the Ahafo region was ranked the lowest. There is more in the following reports. The launch of the CIMG Regional Brand Index report saw the Ashanti region identified as the most branded region in terms of culture and heritage, local tourism as well as economic climate, with an overall average of 79.42%, followed by the Greater Accra region with a rate of 79.23%. However, the Afo region ranked the lowest branded region with a figure of 8.05%. Speaking to Joy Business on the sidelines of the launch of the report, Chief Executive Officer of the Bureau of Marketing Social Research, Isaac Juma, urged government to take advantage of the report and brand its new regions to boost their tourism potentials.
Ghana is way smaller than Nigeria, but because of the Brand Ghana initiative, the year of the return, beyond the return, all the things that we've done, Ghana is now the top destination for West Africa. You see what I mean? So it is possible. As long as you put the marketing money, the marketing efforts behind the regions, and you're also creative in your storytelling around the regions, we would have situations where, you know, the smaller regions and the new regions and whatever begin to perform very well. And at the heart of it all is the fact that once they begin to perform well, they'll begin to attract the migration money, the investment money, and then the tourism money. And the development will come from there.
Head of Delivery, Monitoring and Evaluation at the Office of the Vice President, Kweku Apia-Edu, said this report will afford government the opportunity to map up strategies to decide which areas to focus its trade investments on.
Is that the initiators of the research or the report have to pick up from here and engage further with the AFCFTA and other organizations in Ghana such as the GIPC, the Office of the President, NDPC, and other organizations, even the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, so that based on the deeper research they undertake even going forward, or what we call the double clicking or the deep dives, they would be able to then get to a point where we would be able to tell where the best of products or the best of services or the best of produce can be found as we navigate this whole issue about boosting intra-African trade.
On his part, President of the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana, Dr. Daniel Kasati, said this report will become the marketing tool for practitioners to brand their various regions they find themselves in.
Notice that some of the new regions that are not doing so much well in terms of the overall scores have certain strengths within them. I mentioned, for example, my region, Upper East region. I said when you take, I think people, we were, I think the score was about number 8 or so. But you drill down, there were 2 issues where the region was scoring 90%. These are areas of strength that the region can leverage to promote themselves. The areas of weaknesses, they can also work on them to strengthen them. It behoves these 16 regions to find innovative ways of, identifying from this Bible, this document that we have outdoor today, their areas of strength, and to project them. I said they should do so consciously and deliberately.
The CIMG Regional Brand Index report is to aid in the marketing of the economic potential of all 16 regions of the country. Watching Prime Business with me, Pius Kojo Baka. Now, players in Ghana's hair care industry are making plans to capitalize financially on the craze for dreadlocks. This has been observed as the new black hair movement in the beauty industry. Now, the movement is anticipated to lead to a decline in the patronage of regular salons which cater for the permed hair and braids clientele. Love FM's Mona Lisa Frimpong explores the popularity of Rasta-style hairdo as the beauty and fashion industry jams on the bandwagon.
Dreadlocks are rope-like strands of hair that clump together. It has a deep affiliation with the African and Rastafarian religion and lifestyle. There is a common misconception that dreadlocks are dirty. In reality, they are not dirty at all, says Sadat Suleiman, a loctician in Kumasi.
Obiba, obi with my shop for inquiry. Observe, Matisa locks said, oh yeah, na bosumbi now that they see with so and that kind of funny, that kind of stuff. So ono monte ase obu ho no ma otimi ba oba we say oh me de bibia me sha me pese me sha ase anase mate say ye me sha ase a ye dukosua ene hamba bi na e de sha ase e de ma ono that kind of stuff. It also have its background.
Once reggae music was widely accepted in the 1970s, dreadlocks or dreads became a modern fashion statement. Bob Marley popularized the look of dreadlocks when he hit the world stage with his music. Locks have also found its way into many popular professional sportsmen and entertainers. Mavis Workey reveals people now wear dreadlocks more for the style than cultural or religious reasons.
Me person me look real African, tina me have locks on me no. I just say wo person we say African here. I was so be real African. Because all the chemical e can we bia. Ha till say Mr. Me here adwuma we no na wo say locks so no antene say ya na ye one way until die na che say looks no are different.
This hairstyle is both protective and economic, as it does not cost much to maintain. This is why many want this hairstyle. But starting dreadlocks cost between 200 Ghana cedis to 1,200 Ghana cedis.
We have normal locks, we have micro locks, we have sister locks, and then the one that I call, we have expensive sister locks. Okay, each of them comes with its price. Okay, for the normal arrangement, you should arrange from about 300 cedis to 1,000 cedis thereabout.
The switch from natural, teeny-weeny afro or permed hair to locks means occasional clients' visits to the salon.
Personally, I'm not that type who has a lot of time to be going to salon every week or like every 2 weeks to fix my hair.
I realized that the chemicals, and whenever I apply chemicals, it makes my hair very thin.
Operators of regular hair salons say operations have been affected. Emilia Sapoma's salon is already grappling with high utility tariffs and unstable electricity.
And I know my customer are looking at it. So, in me boy, in Kumboy, it is our locking it there. And no one. The Matino, no, I locking it to visit the opportunity. One trinity. And now, on your washing the Antama, Janet de Kwane Kofon.
Suddenly, new lines of hair care products have been developed for use in lock salons. These products range from shampoos to accessories. Hairstylists working at the lock salons have started creating varieties of artificial locks, including extensions and multicolored synthetic locks. This has indirectly affected Alice Adawe, a retailer of hair relaxers and synthetic hair extensions.
They slow, they chew. Oh, to see and Kunu, Cassian, Ruby Cassia, to see a toba, I was saying 50 city, but I want to go home got out of 45. To see you know, what told me to me, to see I won't put a 200 plus, I went to me for boy. I was when they me no, a 60 city. Otrano, me no, a 70 city. Last year, me no, a 70 city. And Tamasia, I want to see I am taught a person.
To catch up with the trend and sustain their businesses, regular hairdressers are undergoing training to become dreadlocks professionals.
Lock now, it is all banners or permit to me a local number. So I'm going to make now Becca nation nebo and nation.
To reduce unemployment, Workey Dreadlocks is ready to train the youth to perfect their lock craft.
Me nyinako nkola na wo ye chi no so wo so musu hunu bibi said de be ya omo so betimi ehu de omo ye omo brabo because adwuma nhyɛ da ne omo anim.
People having this discriminatory perception that folks with dreadlocks are uneducated and dangerous is slowly waning off, thankfully. Now there's no greater peace than you being your true natural self. So please rock your dreadlocks, my dear, because we are in season. For Joy News, Mona Lisa Frimpong, Kumasi.
And that's it for the package. I am Pius Kojo Baka. Always a pleasure serving you. You can get business stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com.